Welcome everybody to two videos. This is number one of two around sharing some secrets and intel around how we created learning environments that led to real long-term measurable change and outcomes for two of our clients in Outback Australia that were in hospitality and tourism. I'm going to take you through in this first video the first of one and two of the things that we did out of four key areas that we designed within the business to actually create different ways of thinking and doing. So culturally, we had certain outcomes, certain changes, something different that we wanted to do. I'm going to share with you how we did that and the key areas that we needed to focus on to be able to certainly put that business in a healthy position, both financially and as a team and culturally in terms of a workforce. So both these organisations were well known, they were doing well, but they understood that they were facing some challenges and gaps and risk in terms of some internal challenge within the workforce, but also environmentally what was happening around them that they wanted to be able to create a different reality. So I'm going to take you through those first two key changes, how we made them, so that if you're in that learning and development space, if you own a business and you're like, you know what, I've got to start doing something different, I don't know where to begin, here's a great place to be able to do that. So when I first met the owner of these two organisations, I had been recommended, Kickstart was recommended to them, and I said to the owner / general manager, what do you want to get out of working with Kickstart? What is it? And this person said to me, he's now a very dear friend too, I want to be able to get my team, not just managers, but the whole team to think like entrepreneurs. So I thought, okay, it's a big ask, let's start. So these are some things that we did in our approach while we worked together. And I'm going to take that through with you. Let's get cracking. So the first thing that we needed to do when we were working with the team in terms of creating a learning environment that would create true, real impact is that we needed to agree and identify on what the ideal outcomes were going to be through working together. And we did that before we even started anything, before we undertook any learning. We were very, very clear with the intent and the purpose, and we were clear on our motives for undertaking this learning. That's absolutely key for building trust. There was no hidden agenda. We were clear on what we were doing it for. And I'm going to go through some other things in a moment that we had to really set the scene from that first point. So that was the first thing. Number one is we set ideal outcomes. And so people knew what we were all working towards together. The other thing is that we embedded the learning into the workplace. So there was absolute real world, real time opportunities to use that learning and then trial and experiment it back into the workplace. And that was particularly important because this was an ongoing project at the time, and it meant that we had to gain real world access and data and intel that can only be done by doing, right? And you can't innovate if you're not going to take the risk of doing something different. And if you're going to be creative, there's always a risk attached to it, isn't there? So they knew as well that as part of this, we would set up and have buy-in from the team, but deliberate opportunity to trial that learning back into that workforce in real time. I think it's important too, as I wrap up in this first part of this, two videos, is that there were two things that we did very clearly. The first one is that all the team members from management down knew how they would be supported through undertaking this learning. And the learning had very different content around it. It was asking people to think and behave differently and do different. So they knew exactly the type of support they would get within the business and then through people and partners like Kickstart, clearly defined. The other thing too that was very, very important that we did is that each staff member from leadership team down knew how they were going to be expected to use this. So that intent, that purpose, expectations around how the team was going to use it was clearly stated from the beginning as well too. So there's a couple of things around that about what we did from a practical perspective. Once we worked out the strategy around what we wanted the business to be known for, what was it going to become, we then actually had to start implementing the learning to deliver on that. But it was really how we delivered that made the difference. And I would like to express the fact that the learning and that gaining of knowledge is purely just the beginning of a very big ongoing piece of work that has to be done by organisations if you want sustainable outcomes. And that is what we did. It was the support it was the implementation, it was the ongoing review and assessment, it was the opportunity to talk about things that weren't working and things that were, and what we wanted to do different, and what that would require both from an organisational level but individual level. And I'll take you through some of those questions that we embedded into the business in video 2. So come back. We've always got questions that we attach to these short videos. So make sure that you give us your ideas, your comments, your feedback, opinion on that. If you're a Pro member, you actually get the detailed notes accompanying the video. So you'll be able to come back through and work through some of those questions that we've worked through today, so that you won't ever lose those again. You'll have access to that. So enjoy, come back for part 2, and let's talk about how we started to really get people thinking at another level around that, which ultimately changed behaviours. So I look forward to seeing you for that.